still standing in the corridor, the weight of Doyong's words pressing hard on his chest. Jun Wuan reached for his phone and stepped a few feet away from his secretary. His fingers moved swiftly as he dialed. The call connected after one ring. "Beck," came Detective Min Jae's steady voice. "Change of plans," Jun Wuan said, his voice low and controlled. "Drop the alibi investigation." There was a pause on the line. "You want me to stop tracing his movements the night of the murder?" "Yes." Jun Wuan exhaled slowly and moved to a nearby window. His reflection in the glass was tense, pale. "Shift your focus. I want a full background check on Han Doyong. Not just the basics. Everything." "You mean?" "Everything," Jun Wuan repeated. "Where he was born, who his parents were, schools, legal guardians, medical records, adoption documents if there are any family that's not been accounted for." Min Jae's tone dropped, cautious now. "That's a deep search. Are you thinking he's hiding something?" There was a moment of silence before Jun Wuan spoke again, his voice quieter now. "Today he called me brother." Min Jae didn't respond at once. "You think it was literal?" he finally asked. "You think you two are?" "I don't know," Jun Wuan cut in, jaw tight. "But if there's even a sliver of truth behind that word, I need to know. Why he is targeting my family." Min Jae's voice returned, sharper and resolved. "Understood. I'll start digging tonight." "Thank you." Jun Wuan ended the call and stood still for a moment, his mind racing. Not with fear, but with a deep, burning resolve. Then he turned to his secretary, who had been watching silently from the corridor. "Get me the reports from the initial investigators," Jun Wuan said. "I want to recheck everything myself. Every detail. Every timestamp. Especially the ones that proved Doyong was overseas." The secretary gave a small nod. "Right away, sir." Jun Wuan's eyes darkened as he looked down the empty corridor. If Han Doyong wasn't who he claimed to be, then this went deeper than just a murder. 2 hours later, the soft morning light streamed through the tall windows of Jun Wuan's office, casting faint gold across the table as he flipped through the cold, sterile reports of his wife's murder case. Witness statements, timelines, forensic scans. Each page was a quiet echo of grief and unanswered questions. His phone buzzed, pulling him from the weight of the files. "Caller ID, Rose Amponsah." He immediately answered. "Rose." Her voice came through, slightly hushed but alert. "Jun Wuan, there are 2 men in suits standing outside the crochet shop. One's near the window, the other near the entrance. They aren't saying anything. Just watching." Jun Wuan's lips curved into a faint, reassuring smile. "They're with me. I had them stationed there." "You sent bodyguards?" "Yes," he said, voice steady. "It's about what happened earlier this morning. Doyong said some things that made it clear you and Sangwoo could be at risk." There was a brief pause on the line. Then Rose spoke gently. "So, it's that serious?" "It is," Jun Wuan said, his tone quiet but firm. "And I'm not taking any chances. Not with you. Not with my son." Another pause, softer this time. "Thank you for telling me," she said, and he could hear the gratitude beneath her calm. "It was just surprising." "I understand," he said. "If you ever feel unsafe, let them know or call me directly. They won't be far." "I'll keep that in mind," she said, then added, with a trace of warmth. "We're fine." Just a little startled. "Good," he said. "And Rose?" "Yes, I meant it. I'll protect you both, no matter what." She didn't reply immediately, but when she did, her voice was gentle. "I know." He ended the call and sat back, fingers resting lightly on the edge of the documents. Han Doyong did strike even when Jun Wuan had already prepared to face him. It was a quiet evening. Rose had just locked up the crochet shop, her fingers fumbling slightly with the keys. She and Sangwoo were walking toward the sleek black car parked a few meters away. One of the bodyguards assigned by Jun Wuan moved ahead to scan the perimeter. The other, a broad-shouldered man with sharp eyes, stayed close, his presence calm but alert. The air was cool. The street was nearly silent, save for the soft hum of distant traffic. Then it happened. A black van screeched around the corner and halted violently across the street. The sudden roar shattered the quiet. Doors slammed open. 2 masked men leapt out, swift and purposeful. "Get the boy," one shouted. The lead bodyguard pulled his weapon, firing instinctively, bang. But a shot rang out from the attacker's side, bang. He stumbled backward, clutching his upper arm as blood soaked through his sleeve. Sangwoo froze, but Rose didn't. She threw herself in front of him, arms outstretched, shielding him with her body. The second bodyguard came flying, opening fire and forcing the masked men into retreat. They scrambled back into the van and sped off into the darkness, tires shrieking, smoke curling in their wake. Rose clutched Sangwoo tightly as he trembled in her arms. The wounded bodyguard leaned against the car. "I'm fine. Just grazed." They got into the car and sped off toward the mansion. Rose dialed Jun Wuan with shaky hands. He answered immediately. We were attacked, she said breathlessly. Sangwoo, he's safe. But they were after him. They came for him, Jun Wuan. I'm on my way, Jun Wuan said sharply. 15 minutes later, the front doors of the mansion opened. Jun Wuan rushed into the living room just as Rose stepped in, holding Sangwoo close. The boy didn't look up. He just clung to her. Sangwoo. Jun Wuan dropped to his knees, inspecting him. Are you hurt? Talk to me, are you okay? The boy nodded faintly, face buried in his father's chest. I tried to keep him calm, Rose said. Jun Wuan turned to his secretary. Double their security. Starting tonight. No exceptions. Just then his phone rang. It was Han Doyong. He answered without hesitation. You son of a, Jun Wuan began. Relax, Doyong said smoothly. If I wanted the boy gone, he'd be gone. Jun Wuan began pacing, his voice like fire. You're insane. No, Doyong replied, amused. I'm efficient. That was just a reminder, little brother. I hope you're paying attention. Because this is just the beginning. You're threatening a child. Jun Wuan barked. I'm eliminating a problem, Doyong said, his voice low and venomous. One your father made long ago. Be prepared, Jun Wuan. I'm not done. Next time. I won't miss. Then the line went dead. Jun Wuan stared at the phone in his hand. His other fist curled so tightly his knuckles turned white. Behind him, Rose stood silent by the couch, holding Sangwoo close, her heartbeat still racing. Outside, the wind howled against the windows. And they all knew. The storm had only just begun. 2 days after the first strike, far from the noise and chaos of the city, in a secluded private estate nestled among pine-covered hills, Han Doyong sat on a marble-tiled balcony with his morning espresso. The rising sun cast long golden shadows across the valley, but the view didn't matter to him. His eyes were distant, mind already 10 steps ahead. A sleek black phone beside his plate vibrated once. Without urgency, he picked it up and answered. Tonight, he said calmly, his voice smooth and precise. We move. The voice on the other end was composed but tinged with uncertainty. Confirming target, your nephew? Yes. Sangwoo. He said the name without flinching, like it meant nothing. It ends tonight. There was a brief pause on the line. Then, in a lower tone, the man asked, But I heard the boy's your nephew. Why go this far? Han Doyong's eyes narrowed. Have you become soft, number 2? No, the man replied. I don't care who I'm asked to kill, as long as the money is paid. I'm just curious. Han Doyong leaned forward slightly, a cold glint in his eye. He saw me that night, when I murdered his mother. That boy is a threat. The kind of threat that doesn't stay buried. Number 2 went silent for a moment. Then he simply said, Understood. Han Doyong leaned back again, one leg folded over the other, a faint, icy smile tugging at his lips. Children are like seeds, he said, tone soft but venomous. You better uproot them before they grow too deep. He ended the call and placed the phone on the table beside his untouched breakfast. The wind stirred gently through the trees. He exhaled, as if he'd been discussing the weather rather than plotting the death of a child. Then, as if the world didn't know how to pause, his phone buzzed again. A second call. Han Doyong glanced at the screen. It was his assistant. He answered. Speak. Sir, there's something you should know. Baek Jun Wuan has ordered a private investigator to dig into your background. They're going back to your childhood. Early records. Legal guardianship. School transfers. Everything. Han Doyong didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Let him, he said, voice chilled and smooth. Help him find the people who were in my life. The assistant was silent, waiting. Han Doyong picked up his wine glass, even though it was still early morning. He swirled the deep red liquid, watching it catch the light like blood. Let him find out what his father really was, he added, before he became a Baek. He took a long, slow sip, then smiled to himself. Because once he knows, he won't be able to unknow it. That night, the crochet shop was quieter than usual. Sangwoo, small hands moving with care, folded the last of the blankets and placed them neatly into the wicker basket. His face carried a soft smile, calm, like a boy finally finding normal again. Rose crouched beside him and adjusted the straps on his shoes after he was done folding the blankets. Almost done, she said gently. Then we're off home. Outside, the presence of security was strong. 6 bodyguards, positioned like shadows of protection. 2 at the corners of the street. 2 flanking the front entrance. 2 others patrolling the perimeter. Jun Wuan had doubled the security team of Sangwoo and Rose after the first incident. The night air was crisp and still, until a black car rolled into the street. Its headlights were off and its movements were silent. Four men stepped out, dressed like passers-by, nothing remarkable about them, except for the way they moved. Sharp, calculated. The two guards on perimeter saw them first. Their instincts flared. But before either could speak, bang, bang, two silenced shots. Two men down. Near the entrance, one bodyguard stiffened, sensing the change in the air. He pressed his earpiece. Perimeter team report. Silence. No answer. His fingers clenched around the mic. We have company. Then chaos. A thunderous crack shattered the quiet. Gunfire. The glass window of the crochet shop exploded inward, sending shards flying. Sangwoo screamed, stumbling back as Rose threw herself in front of him, pulling him toward the counter for cover. Outside, shouts erupted. One guard inside the shop ran out, drawing his weapon. Another stayed, crouched low, ushering Sangwoo and Rose behind a shelf. The night erupted into gunfire as bullets tore through the silence. The assailants didn't shoot to scare. They aimed to kill. Rose turned, eyes locked on Sangwoo's terrified face. Then she saw the barrel of a gun pointed at the window. Bang! A single shot ripped through the room. And Rose moved without thinking. Her body shielded Sangwoo. The bullet hit her. She collapsed beside him, blood blooming on her sweater like a dark red flower, her breath hitching as she slumped forward. Sangwoo cried out, sobbing, reaching for her hand. She tried to move her lips, tried to whisper that he was safe, but only a faint breath came out as her eyes fluttered closed. Outside, the attackers were already retreating, bodyguards pursuing them down the narrow road. Then came the sirens. Police and medics had arrived. A bodyguard burst through the ruined front entrance. We need medics now. Within seconds, a paramedic team rushed in. One medic checked Rose's pulse while another quickly applied pressure to the wound, stopping the flow of blood. Her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. Carefully, they lifted her onto the stretcher. One of the guards picked up Sangwoo, who wouldn't stop crying, his small hands stained with her blood. Call the boss now, a guard barked. Tell him she took the bullet. Tell him we're en route to the hospital. They loaded Rose into the ambulance, Sangwoo clinging to her hand even as they tried to ease him into the seat. The emergency room doors burst open in a blur of chaos and urgency. Gunshot wound. Female, mid-20s. Unconscious but breathing. Get the trauma team ready. A medic shouted as the gurney flew down the brightly lit corridor, wheels screeching against linoleum. Rose lay limp on the stretcher, her face pale, lips tinged blue, her blouse soaked through with a deep crimson that hadn't stopped blooming. Doctors and nurses rushed to her side. Monitors beeped. Orders were shouted. The hallway smelled of antiseptic and iron. Right behind her, a bodyguard pushed through the doors, cradling Sangwoo in his arms. The boy was shaking, his face buried deep in the man's chest, sobbing so hard it hurt to listen. And then, Rose! Jun Wuan's voice tore through the corridor like a lightning strike. He burst in, eyes wild as they landed on the gurney. He ran toward her, chest heaving, but was stopped by a wall of nurses. Sir, you can't go in, one said, arms outstretched. Please, we need to stabilize her. You'll have to wait here. Let me, his voice cracked midword, breaking with raw desperation. His hand reached out helplessly, trembling inches from her bloodied arm. She's critical, sir. The nurse's voice was gentler now, firmer. We promise, any updates will come straight to you. Please, wait in the family area. And just like that, the doors swung shut behind them. Jun Wuan stood frozen for a breathless second, then turned sharply at a sound. Daddy! Sangwoo had broken free from the bodyguard and was running toward him. Jun Wuan dropped to his knees and caught his son in one motion, pulling him in, clutching him like something sacred. Sangwoo buried his face in his father's chest and wept. She's hurt. I know. His voice shook, but his arms did not. She protected me. Sangwoo choked through sobs. She saved me. Jun Wuan closed his eyes, forehead resting against his son's. I know, Sangwoo. She did. A bodyguard approached, his voice low and tense. They were going to kill Sangwoo this time, but Rose jumped in. She took the bullet for him. Jun Wuan nodded tightly, his grip on Sangwoo tightening. Did you see who? He asked. They vanished. They were even able to drag one of their men away. The way they moved. They were professionals. Jun Wuan's jaw clenched, his gaze hardening like steel. It was Doyong. The guard didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence said everything. Moments later, a nurse appeared, gloves stained, her face calm but serious. She's in surgery. She lost a lot of blood, but we're doing everything we can. We'll update you as soon as we know more. Jun Wuan gave a silent nod, his lips pressed into a thin line. He sat heavily on the nearest bench, holding Sangwoo close in his lap, the boy's small body still trembling. Will she wake up? Sangwoo whispered. Jun Wuan looked at the ER doors, then down at his son, brushing a hand over his hair. His voice was hoarse but steady. I don't know. He paused. But she fought to protect you, so now we fight for her. And with that, he held his son close, while beyond the closed double doors, the woman who had saved them both hovered between life and death. Several hours later, the hospital corridor was still and silent, the world beyond it lost to the night. The clock ticked past midnight. Jun Wuan hadn't moved from the bench outside the emergency room. He sat rigid, arms wrapped around his son, whose small body had finally surrendered to exhaustion. Sangwoo slept against his father's chest, fingers still curled tightly into Jun Wuan's shirt. Then the doors swung open. A surgeon stepped out, scrub stained, cap askew, fatigue etched deep into the lines of his face. Mr. Beck? Jun Wuan stood immediately, careful not to wake Sangwoo, but the boy stirred, blinking sleepily at the sound of the doctor's voice. She's stable, the surgeon said. Jun Wuan exhaled sharply, tension escaping his chest like air from a cracked dam. The bullet missed her heart by centimeters, but there was significant internal bleeding. We managed to stop it. She's in a medically induced coma now, to let her body heal. Jun Wuan's throat tightened. Will she wake up? The doctor hesitated for only a second. We believe so. But it'll take time. Days, maybe weeks. It depends on her strength now. Jun Wuan nodded slowly, blinking away the weight behind his eyes. Can I see her? The doctor offered a small nod. Briefly. She's in ICU. The intensive care unit was cold, quiet, and sterile. Machines beeped steadily in the background. For lines trailed from a monitor to Rose's still form. Her skin was pale, lips colorless, her chest rising and falling gently with the help of machines. But there she was. Alive. A fighter, resting after a storm. Jun Wuan sat in the chair beside her bed, still holding Sangwoo in his lap. He leaned forward and gently brushed a lock of hair from her face, careful not to disturb the bandages near her shoulder. You protected him, he whispered. Like you always do. Sangwoo, now more awake, looked at Rose. His small face tensed, eyes glassy with tears that hadn't fallen yet. He then turned to his father, voice trembling. Dad, when will she wake up? Jun Wuan stared at Rose for a long moment before answering quietly. I don't know, Sangwoo. The boy looked at Rose again. Then, with the honesty only a child could carry, he reached out and touched her hand, small, trembling fingers pressing lightly against hers. Wake up soon, new mommy. Silence fell again, except for the soft hum of machines. And in that quiet moment, love filled the room, unspoken, raw, and stronger than fear. Later that night, Jun Wuan stepped outside the hospital and into his car, the weight of the day pressing heavily on his shoulders. The evening lights glowed behind him as he drove on. Sangwoo and Rose had been moved to the secure safe house he'd built years ago for emergencies just like this. He'd made the call without hesitation. His private doctors and surgeons were already there, along with a full security detail. Not just guards this time, but surveillance, perimeter fences, trained defense units. Han Sokja, his late wife's mother, had chosen to go there as well after hearing what Doyong had done. She wanted to be close to Sangwoo. She wanted to protect him. And perhaps she needed distance from her past, now resurfacing in the worst ways. Jun Wuan wouldn't visit them, couldn't. Not while Doyong might be tracking his every move. Just then, his phone buzzed in his hand. Unknown caller. But he already knew who it was. He parked his car before answering, voice low. Doyong. A familiar chuckle slid through the line. Chilling. Little brother, Han Doyong cooed. What a pity, huh? They didn't get the boy. I was furious when I heard. But the woman, now she's something else. Took a bullet and still breathing? Impressive. He sighed dramatically, then added. You always get the strong ones, don't you? That's your luck, Jun Wuan. Strong-ass women. Also, it seems you've taken them somewhere safe, right? Jun Wuan didn't respond. Doyong continued, amused. Because one of my men told me, when he came there, both your son and the woman were gone. Ah, what a pity, don't you think so? Jun Wuan's grip tightened around the phone, his jaw rigid. You'll pay for this. Oh, I am paying, Doyong mocked. With interest. But let me ask you something. His voice turned cold, cruel. How does it feel, seeing someone you love in pain? Knowing that despite all your money, your power, your damn bodyguards, you couldn't protect her. Jun Wuan stared into the darkness, his voice steady but laced with fury. I will find you. There was a pause. Then Doyong said with unsettling calm, Don't worry, little brother. We'll definitely meet again. After you've uncovered my childhood. After saying that, Han Doyong hung up. Jun Wuan sat in the stillness, phone pressed to his ear, heart pounding with rage and now with questions.